Oh. Right. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're here on Razor Bootcamp. We are on day 2. Very excited. We had such a good day yesterday. My name's Debbie. I'm going to be teaching, and I'm along with Kate.
Good morning. Hi.
Hello. And we're just going to go over maybe some things, like some takeaways you guys had yesterday. So if a couple people just want to talk about maybe something they learned or something they want to work on more today, like something that maybe was harder than they thought it was going to be, or just like some aha moments you had. So if anybody wants to start. Yeah, cool. What's your name?
Megan.
Hey, Megan.
I guess my aha moment would be like, if you're cutting to the left, you use the heel of the blade. If you're cutting to the right, use the tip of the blade. That was a big takeaway. And then just body position.
Yeah, body position. That's why I feel like Razor Bootcamp you can take over and over again, because it's really just like how to use the razor properly, right? It's like how to get the right angle, where to stand, how to get your hand. We're going to work on that today. Yeah, for me, the upward stroke was the last thing that was smoother for me, you know? So yeah, I feel like this is like all the fundamentals of how to use the blade. Because you all know how to cut hair, right? So we just need to learn how to do it with a different tool. And what's different about a razor, I feel like, because like scissor, you're either cutting blunt or you're pointing. But the razor, there's so many different angles. There's like cutting to the left and to the right, and then how you tilt it. So there's way more variations, which I personally think is the fun part of razor, you know, but it can be the tricky part. Because I remember for a while there, I'd be like, oh yeah, it's smooth, it's smooth, it's smooth. Oh, it happened, you know? So like, it kind of goes back and forth. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, what I love too is that it always kind of evolves. Like the more control you start having over the razor, the more you can do with it, and it's really cool to experience, and that you can really. So yeah, the more control you have with the razor as time goes on, you can do so much more with it. So I'm always kind of experiencing new things still after using it for so long.
That's really true, because at first I was just learning how to cut to the left, how to cut to the right, and how to do the layer, right? But then I like saw all these crazy things that they were doing with like how to remove weight and like taking the weight out and then cutting it, or even doing like cutting graduation from the bottom up to the top, because I feel like I always work down. So when I would see, I was just like, I don't know. I think that's why it's really good to subscribe to the app, because there's like so many things to watch. And even before I teach a class, I'm like, let me watch some videos just to get like inspired. And I'm just like blown away at all the things a razor can do. It's really cool. Anybody else?
How is it for you cutting that short?
Oh, it was a treat. The hand position was definitely, I was like practicing in my hotel room a little bit.
Ah, that's cool.
Just like getting my arm to want to go like this and feel natural is a lot, but it's starting to get there.
Yeah.
It's on. I'm just quiet. Sorry.
Because body position is so much of it.
Yeah.
And just changing that body position can change everything. It's also good for the longevity of our bodies to do hair, because I feel like, you know, we really don't put so much tension on this hand. We just have to like loosen up a little bit. When with scissors we're so structured, so it's good for that.
Yeah. That's cool. Anybody else?
Bring them all up?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that I learned yesterday so far was when Debbie showed me in the front to not only go downwards when you did those face frames, to go the other way to create that movement. I don't know if I'm explaining it
Yes.
well, but that was like really, because that's what I do a lot is those face framing
Yes.
pieces. So it just made it look so much different than just going straight everything to the top.
Totally. So many of your models looked so amazing last night. Me and Kate were talking about how it was really fun to see them all appear on like Instagram stories last night because you're like, oh, so cute. It's like, that's like the funnest part for me. But your model looks so good. Like she looked like she had different texture when she left. And so she's talking about doing face frame instead of just doing it from the outside, going from inside the hair and lightening it up. And it just like, it almost looked like this non-haircut. Like she just looked like she just came out of the ocean. She looked so great. It was like all these invisible layers that added movement. It was really cool. So awesome. All right, so we are gonna bring our first model up. I'm gonna go first today. Forget my model's name. I always forget their name. All right, what was your name again?
Tristan.
Tristan, that's right. This is Tristan. Really excited to cut her hair. I love her texture. We are going to give her a little bob today. Today we're going to do some nice classic work that you'll be able to go home and use in the salon. I feel like yesterday was like that too, at least your pixie, you know? That was really great. So Tristan is going to get like a little bob, like kind of like right at her jaw, maybe like right at the lip. I think that'll look really good on her. I mean, like, I don't know. She has like the cutest, sweetest mouth. I think that is going to be like a nice focus. Bring up the bangs a little bit, kind of just like show off her face a little bit more. She has a lot of fine hair. I don't think it's going to get that much curlier. Does your hair get curlier when, or does it stay more like this texture?
It'll get a little curlier.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Looks like it might get a little wavier, but it's not going to get like a whole lot. So when we look at the back, always checking the hairline. She has a nice hairline. I think coming right to the hairline and coming around. I might round this a little bit. I'm not sure, maybe, we'll see. But I think just like a little bit of graduation in the back, just to like have a little tiny bit of lift and then come through to the side. But just like a nice classic razor French bob. Do you guys get asked for that a lot in the salon? I feel like whatever you put on Instagram is what you get. So I saw one person once, you're gonna go with summer to get rinsed down. I saw on this one person's bio on Instagram, I thought it was the funniest thing. I almost wanted to write it, copy it. But it said, I do long hair too, but who wants to see that? I was like, that is so funny. But there's actually a lot of really cool long hair now, right? But it's like not just like plain long hair. But I post a lot of short hair and bobs because that's what I really love to do. So I get a lot of bob clients because they're like, oh, I heard you're the bob lady. And I'm like, I am, because I love it. You know what I mean? Like we were talking one time and I was like, that's like my desert island haircut, you know?
Me
like if
too.
I was stranded on a desert island, I can only do one haircut.
I think all day long.
Yeah, all day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you look for in a bob? Do you check the hairline?
Check the
What are you looking
hairlines
for in the
and
hairline?
I check the curve of their head, like how much does their occipital bone stick out? Because I feel like that will change my sectioning. You know, if they have a really prominent occipital bone, then I will probably use steeper triangular sections so that I can really pull this back and fill that in. People that's like, if their occipital bone sticks out a lot right here and it really sinks in there, then I really want to make sure that I fill that area in, you know? So I really feel someone's head. I look at their profile a lot. Profile is very important on a bob. So especially on the length that you're going to choose, because if you're going to expose this area, like I want to know what that is going to look like, you know? So it's like, do I need to have it like a ½ inch below their jaw? Because also too, like you're creating width, you can create width on a bob. You can either slim someone's face or create width. So if I cut it right at someone's jaw, it's going to be wider. Their face is going to look wider. If I want to make their face seem a little leaner, I might have a slight triangular corner because A-line shapes slim faces. Square and round can broaden someone's face depending on where it hits on their jaw. If you have a square shape but it's just a little bit below their jaw, it's not going to create as much width as right above. Or you can, if they're a little wider, you can go like right at their lip, and that won't seem as broad as right at the jaw. Does that make sense? Also, bang shapes. Bang shapes on any type of length of hair change how someone's face looks, right? So you can like open up someone's face. You can make something narrower. So I feel like short hair, you're really changing a lot of how the face looks.
Yeah, I think we talked about that yesterday with your model and around the arch of the eyebrow and the high of the cheekbone to really open up that spot on someone. It can change so much about them. They have like a smaller forehead.
Yeah.
And for me, like the hairline is so important with a bob, depending on if I'm going to be doing graduation or a one length bob, because do I want to expose that or not, So.
Yeah. And the strength of their hairline. Tristan's hairline is not very strong. It's not like really powerful, so I'm not really worried about it. But if somebody has that really strong growth pattern in or stuff like that, you have to be more mindful of that. But that's also the beauty of the razor, is that you can break growth patterns.
Yes.
Which are so much harder with scissors, So.
And it grows out so softly and nice with the shape instead of them coming in, for that little neck trim. It all grows out together when you set in that hairline with the razor using the flat.
Yeah. Ooh. All right, perfect timing. This is Summer. Summer is a stylist here at Pony. She's helping us out today. I'll take your purse. We'll just set it on the station right here. I got it. And then when I'm a little boring, you're going to talk about 9-inch nails.
Okay. You want to come there right now?
Sure. All right.
Maybe a little rubbery milk in here. It's a nice, anti-frizzy.
I love the milk. It's so nice. You ever get on little kicks of products? It's like you're only using that product for on every single person. Sometimes I'll play a game with myself, be like, let's use this product today. We just got this new product. It's from I Dig Your Hair. Have you heard of that product line?
Say that again?
I Dig Your Hair. We just got a new product by them. It's like this texture foam. It's so nice.
Get it curl.
Get it, curl. That's the name of the product.
What do you have in there right now? It smells good.
She put milk in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Did you guys notice that when you were cutting with a cutting lotion or something, that the razor could get through and you could extend?
Yeah.
It really helps so much.
Cool, cool. Awesome. Oh, I should have switched these.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
That's a home posted.
I like that. All right. Thanks. Okay, so I'm just going to get her.
I just have to say I'm really excited to watch Debbie cut a bob because, like I told you yesterday, she was one of my first teachers and was so strict with me with bobs, but I think
I'm
that's why it's
nicer
my
now.
favorite haircut now, and I can kind of almost do it, just so naturally. 'Cause
It's crazy that Kate and I worked together like 20 years ago, right? We worked at Vidal Sassoon in San Francisco. Kate's had an awesome career, though. She went off to London, and then you got taught by Tina, who's like the OG. Love
Tina
Tina.
Anderson.
Tina Anderson.
My sister.
And then you went to Bumble, so you've had an amazing training. You've had both, the scissor and the razor.
Yeah, I feel like it's a really beautiful thing when the razor or like we could say Sassoon haircuts are put with a razor. It's one of my favorite things ever. Do you like that? I loved watching you do the round graduation one time where you did it so classically like a Sassoon cut, but with the razor, and it just changes everything about the
I feel like that's how I started learning razors. I just did the haircuts that I knew with scissor, with razor. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Then later you see all this really crazy advanced stuff that people do, like ways of removing weight, or so it's like incrementally adding that in, I think is a good way to do it. Like doing classics and then doing weight removal or things like that. Like that's how I had to do it.
Yeah, because maybe at first you just want to trust the shapes that you know
Yes.
to put in, so that you can really get comfortable with the razor and your body position and the stroke and the movement of the blade. And then when you have more control over the tool, you can eventually add more, like using the flat or going deeper with your weight removal.
Okay. All right, so I'm just gonna put my outline in. I'm gonna start off with more of a closed stroke at the beginning, just to build my outline, and then I'm progressively gonna start to open the blade up a little bit more to take weight out.
So a short stroke to put your line in, and
Yep.
then broaden it to take out weight.
Yes.
Rad.
So I'm gonna take it pretty short. I would say like the worst is, so I'm gonna start the razor a little bit, but I'm just gonna use tiny little strokes, you know, because I wanna cut a really clean line. So how we were talking yesterday, that what you see in your hand is gonna be a mirror image of the hair. I hope I'm staying out of the way. It's kind of hard on a bob to keep out of the way.
No, it's nice. And you can see her tight, clean tension in her fingers and also through the hair.
Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna switch to a smaller comb because I feel like this one is a little too big. I like longer combs for like when I'm doing long hair, but on these little bobs I like to do. It's like a little bit of length in the center there. I think just that comb was a little uncomfortable. Okay. So I'm gonna put a little bit of graduation in the back, but right now I really just wanna work on having a nice clean line. And when I first learned razor, that's what we did, was like one length bobs, like not moving your hand at all, right? Which was really hard. And that's another thing that we were talking about, is like not not moving your hand. So to cut something square, you can't slide with your hand. And a lot of times I think people do that because they're afraid that they're going to cut their finger. So their hand slides along with it, but then you gain length, you know? So just practicing keeping your hand very still. So this is what we talked about yesterday. You can see my guide. I comb it down, and right where the guide slips out, you can see that. That is my working area. I'm gonna tilt my finger a little bit so that I can get my hand in there. I don't wanna keep it flat, because it's gonna be hard to get my razor in there. So it's kind of just like opening the door a little bit, right? So I just like slide down, there's my guide. I just tilt it a little bit. I move my razor a little bit before I get to the hair. Cut air before hair. That way it just starts to slide into the hair better. Combing that.
And that's something for your body position too, just on that heel side. And that's to avoid using the flat of the blade in that moment.
So you see how it looks nice and clean, right? That's like, I was saying, like, this is good for any type of hair. You have someone with like really flat, hardly any hair. A razor is good too, because it like gives more life at the bottom of the hair than a scissor would, just cutting it blunt. Because, you know, people that have really fine hair that you can barely layer it, I mean, I don't know. How fun is that to like always have to have completely one length hair, you know? So I feel like just, you know, with a razor, you can add some texture. I had a little bit extra length there, so I'm just gonna get that.
For me, I feel like with fine hair, the razor is amazing. Like
Yeah, totally.
It gives it so much life.
Yes.
So you're gonna kind of work up to the round.
Yep. Feel free to ask me any questions too, Summer, if I'm being too quiet. I always feel like I have to talk the whole time, but I don't, right? You're like watching the hair.
I always appreciate seeing a left-handed instructor. I'm
Ah.
so it wasn't until working with Debbie that
Yeah, I would never thought how much it would make a difference, but it's cool to see the. You know.
It is nice when you see something like, because for us, it's like, it's not very often we get to see where someone's hands look like ours. We're like, oh, whoa. Like if
Yeah.
I ever notice someone's left-handed, I'm like, wait, what? It's like when Ramona came here, I was like, oh my God, Ramona's a lefty?
Yeah,
I was
that's like
so
the first thing I
excited.
noticed.
Yeah. It's cool.
There's a lot of lefties too that were made to cut with their right hands.
Yes.
sinister.
Ah. So do you see how I start it? Before I get to the hair, and then it just slides right into the hair. I'm working on my lunges here, so I'm out of the way. My legs will be on fire by the end. See how I move it around? I can see that that one little piece sticks a little bit, right? So I feel like it's a different way to be engaged with the hair when you're cutting razor, you know? Just a little extra length right there.
Is your stroke starting to get a little bit bigger now as
This
you're
one it
going
will,
down?
yeah.
Okay.
It depends on how much hair you're working on. Like she's got a lot of hair, but if someone is like finer, maybe you would do small strokes till you get up to, it's till whenever you have enough of an outline that you like. Yeah. But the elevation is always on this haircut going to be a little bit lower because your hand is creating the graduation by the movement. So you don't have to like lift it like a scissor cut.
Debbie, we have a question from one of our viewers on the app asking if you're having your model look down and why.
Yes. I'm having her look down till I get to the occipital bone because it's just going to help me keep it a little bit heavier and help me get in there.
And with that, I think it is cut for comfort, you know, as long as you know when they lift their head up, it might change the shape. I'm somebody that has their model look down a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm tall and I wear heels and I have to like.
I feel like it's easier to get in there because if she was like that, like it would be like hard. You can see already. Doing this just creates more space, especially like when you get on the side, shoulders get in the way, right? So like even like when I teach with the assistants, like they're like trying to get in there. And then sometimes what people will do is they'll lift this too much because they're trying to avoid this area because they can't get in there. And then one side gets longer because you've over-directed this back so you can get it, when really you just need to tilt their head a little bit.
Absolutely.
That is a good question.
I think sometimes we forget too that our models' heads do move.
Yeah, like we're totally uncomfortable and like our back hurts and then we don't ask someone to move to make it easier. So you can see that shape starting to become, it has such nice hair.
So beautiful.
I was teasing Tristan that I stalked her on her Instagram to look at her hair. She had a private page, and I was like, because we have models submit their photos, and I knew I wanted to cut her hair, but I was like, oh, just want to see a couple other photos of her hair. And so do you see, this is my working area. There's my guide, and here's my working area, yeah? So I'm going to comb it. I'm slightly lifting now. I slide past my guide so that I'm not going to recut what I've cut. I start my razor, and then I just go.
Are there instances where you would start
Can you
the
give her
bob?
does she have the mic?
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Are there instances where you would start the bob on the side? And
Yeah.
if so, when would that be ideal?
You could start on the side if you wanted it like a rounder shape, like if you wanted to curve it like this. I do like cutting bobs on the side if their hair is really bulky right here, because I feel like you can go from the front to the back and hug in that area right there. Also, if someone's hairline grows like this, I feel like if you start from the front, it'll lay in better than starting from the side and that pops up. So yeah,
I love cutting bobs from the front.
yeah.
Because one haircut that was really tricky for me in my training was inside out.
I was gonna say, for all of us, there's like this famous haircut that's like, it's called inside out,
And it's
and it's a
so
bob
nice.
started from the front.
Yeah, so you start it from the front and you move back and you can graduate it or keep it one length. But
Yep.
I feel it's so nice sometimes, especially when you're doing a huge change on a, line, so you can put that length in.
Yeah. It's trickier to start from the front, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
Such nice hair. So good. So I want to keep this elevation low though, because like I said, your razor is doing the graduation. If I lift it, it's going to get really rounded in the back. It's not going to have that peak of weight, like that little corner in the back. So that's something that I had to get used to, that razor work on graduation is a lot lower because your hand's doing it too. And if you do it by elevation, you're going to get double. Does that make sense? Yeah. I want to have less graduation right behind the ear because that's where I'm going to become more one length. Do you see how I peel my fingers away? I don't slide with my hand because I don't want to gain that extra length, but I will peel my fingers away so that I can keep it close to her neck.
That's a good technique to see, because I find that I'll do that kind of sliding thing and I know that I'm gaining that
Gaining
length,
length.
but and I'll just go back but it just
Take
takes
it
a
off.
step. Yeah.
Yeah, if you just like roll your fingers, you can keep the rest of your hand out of the way.
And that fluid tension, which makes it so
Yeah.
perfect too, right?
Isn't razoring just fun to do, right? It's just like, I don't know, it feels more fun. I always tell Karina I'm a paranoid that I'm gonna like lose it with scissors because like I use a razor so much. I probably use, I don't know, probably like 70% razor, 30% scissor at this point. It depends on the haircut. It depends on what they want, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that I'm always refining my haircuts with scissors at the end, even if it's just like a little brief kind of over.
Yeah, it's good to do a little check at the end. How much do you use percentage-wise?
Probably like 60% razor,
60,
40%,
40.
like around there. But yeah, I think it might be a little security blanket too, to go in with scissors at the end, because I mostly trained with scissors before coming here.
I know you look around the room here, you hardly see a scissor.
Yeah, totally.
Right? So I'm lifting more towards the center, just like a classic graduated bob, less towards the outer edge because I'm going to move into more heavy one length on the sides. I think this is looking good. I'm not really doing a whole lot of weight removal because I want like a nice, like little lush, heavy bob. I think it's going to be cute. I think it's going to look nice on her waves too. I just wanted to do something simple with sectioning and not getting crazy with weight removal and everything for a haircut for you guys. So you can see that I can always see my guide. It's always going to be a little blurrier with a razor than a scissor guide, just because of the movement of your hand and everything. So just make sure that you can always see your guide. So you can see how that looks a little bit softer from the movement, but I'm still on the edge of my blade, you know? So it's still going to be a cleaner look, just with like a little bit more variation. And I do tap my finger, you know what I mean? I tap my finger every time. I don't cut myself. The tapping doesn't cut. You know, if I was pressing too hard with my arm, then because I'm putting too much force on it and it's a brand new razor blade, then I probably would cut myself. Every once in a while, I don't cut myself that often, I have to say. I don't, but if I have cut myself with a razor, it's like I'm talking to someone and then I'll like go to do something, or it's actually not when I'm cutting hair, or it's like I'm sectioning, like I've hit my other hand when I'm like kind of tangled up or something, you know. I've done that. So I think that is the things to be careful with. I think because I am very mindful when I'm using it, like I'm like, okay, I'm using a razor blade, like I'm not, I'm focused on it, and I definitely respect it. But see how I go like that every time, kind of like checking the shape, like does it look heavy anywhere? Looks a little heavy right here, actually. So I'm gonna take a look at this. Yeah, just a little heavy right here. I'm just gonna go in. And someone was asking yesterday, how do you know how high or how low up the strand to go? And I was kind of taught like 1/3 of the length is a good measurement, because you still have like, it lays on that shape and then you just kind of lighten up the ends, if that makes sense. And I feel like that measurement's always kind of worked for me, unless you're going for like, if you had, I mean, there's always like differences, like, or break the rules for that. Like I've had someone with like really, really dense hair. Like if I was gonna give them a bob, it was just gonna get super wide. And down underneath the occipital bone, we will go right from the root almost and take the weight out, because we really wanted to collapse it, let it lay flat. Where this, I'm just trying to lighten it up a little bit. But if I have all those other sections, like 20 more sections to sit on top of that hair on a bob like you do, like we want to go right down to the root and just really flatten that out, because we have enough hair from above the occipital bone that's still going to give us that fullness. So that's a different case where you would go higher on the strand. But usually like on the surface part of the hair that you're going to see, 1/3 of the length is good. Because when you think about a strand, if you go halfway through, that might just make it flip out and get too light, you know? So I'm just going to check my other side right here. Just take out some weight. I mean, you can do this, like you've seen people like Kate did this first yesterday, before she did her layer.
Debbie, how high do you choose to elevate the hair when you are taking weight out? Is it just to, like, is that?
I just make sure that the other, well, I mean, it depends on how light you want it to be. In anything, the lighter you hold the higher you hold something, the lighter it's going to be. And I do want this shape to be heavier, fuller. But I wouldn't hold it so low that I'll see those marks, right? So I'll lift it up high enough, maybe like a 45, where the underneath section slips away, and that when I do it, it's elevated enough that when it falls where it lives, it's not going to show the mark.
I have a question.
Yep.
So when you're removing weight, are you doing it directionally?
I'm kind of going straight down.
Okay.
So I might just tilt my blade enough that it catches those hairs, but I'm not trying to push hair. Or if I go directionally, I feel like that's going to remove more of a space. That's a good question too.
Yeah, I wonder about that, like the directional weight removal. I feel like that has to affect the way it grows out, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to affect the wave or the...
Right, the way it pushes and...
I try just to go straight down, but obviously I feel like there has to be a couple degree turn on your blade so it slides through.
Right.
Oh, look at me. I'm actually in the right camera angle. I feel like I'm like always screwing that up. I think that's probably the most stressful part of doing these. I really like this shape. I think it's looking really sweet. So cute.
That nape is already looking really perfect. It's my favorite part of a haircut is the nape.
Yeah. Just getting these last couple sections before I move on to the side. Oh my God, you look adorable already. There's like a little hair getting ripped out in my nape from this microphone thing. Okay, now we're gonna go on to the side. I like to go high up enough in the back that I don't have to add the back and the side, the back and the side, because that just makes me feel crazy. So I like to go up. If they had a really strong cowlick, I might stop a little bit sooner. If it's like jumpy or gonna give me problems, maybe I would leave that out. But her hair lays pretty nice. There's nothing crazy strong going on, so I will go up to there. So I can basically use all of this back as my guide to go into the sides. Got that, Michelle? Yes. I love that Michelle is like listening. Like Michelle's our manager, and I don't know, she does everything, but she helps run the day here. But she's like intently listening to the hair cutting. I love it.
Michelle could totally do a haircut.
Michelle probably could.
totally cut
Michelle
hair.
might be able to teach this class because she's worked in hair salons for like, how long have you worked in hair salons?
27 years.
Yeah, she was a manager at Bumble and Bumble in New York, and what, Cowboys and Angels, and now here. She a OG.
I got you that job.
She's dealt with us hairdressers for a while.
Kate did give me a job at Bumble.
What's that?
I'm responsible for Michelle's Bumble.
You got me to New York.
Oh yeah? Okay, so one thing we're taught about with scissors is tapping, right? So I remember being like, how does that work with razor? How does that work? How do you not get a hole? I mean, not get a hole, but I just leave it a little bit longer. Some people will bring it back here, which gives you a little bit of over direction. Anytime you over direct hair, it gives you a little bit more length. Over direction creates length, right? And then elevation is whether you're doing a line, graduation, or layers. So if I over direct it back behind the ear, if I bring it both ways, then it's traveled a little bit further both ways, so then it's gonna have a little extra length to go over that little speed bump and end up on the same line. And now I'm gonna put her head up.
So you're kind of naturally splitting where the hair goes?
I'm making it go on both sides of this so that I have extra length so I don't have a hole right there.
Cool.
Oh, your model's here? Your model's here?
My model.
How long do I have? Okay, good.
And you're taking horizontal sections on the side, like, yeah, will you explain
Because
yours?
now I'm just building a bob line right now. I'm back to not moving my hand very much because I'm on my first couple sections of this side. I want to build a nice clean line. So I'm back to the beginning of working on a perimeter. Yeah? Thank you. All right. I'll be using them all. I might do one more of a line and then open it up a little bit. What you can do after this, like when you're first doing a haircut, is you can go, what I think is good is you go back and do your guide on the other side. That way you're already set up for balance. You don't have all this hair that's come down. So you could do like 2 sections, 2-3 sections, and then do the other side. Because then when you get to the other side, you're smooth sailing, you already have your guide, you know? So I'm back behind the ear so I can move my hand a little bit. And then when I get in the front of the ear, I might make it a little bit smaller because I have less hair, right? This little bit right there. And if you have a little tiny bit of hair, you can pinch it. I tried doing that Ramona thing she does. Are you guys all on the app? Ramona does this thing that I tried doing, and I cut myself like 3 times trying to do it. You have to go on the app and watch it. I'm not even going to try to recreate it. But it's a way that she lays the hair on her hand and spins it to take off dust off.
Blunt line.
Yeah, but it's like a scissor line. It's
Yeah.
super impressive.
It's really cool and very hard.
But every time I've cut my other finger, so.
But you kind of did that on her nape when you first started out.
It's a little different. Okay. It's hard. But, you know, it's giving me something to work on.
Right. I know Ramona makes it look really real smooth.
So
and
I'm
easy.
moving my razor. I'm moving it more. I have more of an open stroke. And then I'm going into a little bit more closed. Is Karina watching us?
Karina, are you watching?
Karina, are you out there?
Karina? Da-da-da, looking good. These waves are so sweet. Just gonna go in here.
I'm having Bob envy watching this cut.
Oh my God, we had a French Bob's class not long ago. And by the time everybody was done with the workshop, I was like, someone has to cut off all my hair right now. I would have left with the bob if somebody was willing to do it. And I haven't had to wet her hair down yet because it's still pretty good. I feel like I almost need to after this section, but that milk has really held a lot of moisture onto it.
I love cutting with that milk.
Yeah, I love that milk.
I love that milk. That smells good.
It does smell good. I love things that smell more herbally, right? Milk smells, our Reverie brand smells great. And Colton King brand smells great.
Yeah. Will you talk about that with like re-wetting the hair and razor, or how do you decipher when it's time or when it's...
This is sliding through so smoothly that it feels good. I think it's more from the heat from her head, the hair has dried off, but these ends are still pretty damp. So I feel like I'm still working on wet hair. It's more the roots that are drying off. But, you know, you can kind of feel when hair is not happy, when it needs to be wet down. It starts feeling like scratchier, it doesn't slide through as well. So, and then also, you can just wet down the ends. You don't have to soak everything from the root, which is something It's so weird, all the little things that someone has to tell you that you don't, and you're like, oh, right.
Yeah.
I think it was like Karina that told me that. She's like, you don't have to wet the whole strand. And I was just like, what? What are you talking about?
And Debbie, Karina is watching.
Okay.
Of course she is.
Hi,
She's always
Karina.
watching.
She's always watching. But yeah, I was just like, oh yeah. I was thinking that like, I don't know. I think maybe that was like my scissor training or something, you know, like keeping everything wet and then
Or
like,
having the same like consistency throughout. I hear that.
yes.
So there's that balance of keeping it wet so the tool can go through, but also so you can see the texture and the movement in the hair.
That's one thing that when I am with the assistants, you know, when we're doing scissor cutting, I'm like, you know, don't keep it soaked. Like if you're doing graduation is a buildup of weight. So you want to start seeing the hair in 3D, right? So if you keep it soaked, it's going to be heavy and you can't really tell if you need to lift it more because like the water is going to add all that weight and you can't really tell what's going on in the hair, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of finding that sweet spot with letting the hair talk to you and listening to what it wants to do, and then also keeping moisture so you can get in there. I guess especially with razor, right?
Yeah. I just lifted that crown a little bit because I don't want this to fall over and have like a heavy spot or a hangover, I should say.
No, hang on.
Just getting some of that little extra length off. That little line looks good. Now I'm going to do my other side. One thing I'm just going to do for a second is when I'm cutting hair in the salon, after I do one side, I will turn that side to the mirror so that when I'm cutting this, I can look right in the mirror and look for balance on their profile or their face. Instead of like their face facing the mirror, and then I'm like going back and forth, you know, it's just nice just to look. That works on all short shapes, you know, like pixies, men's haircuts, all that stuff. It's nice that you can just look in the mirror and see the other side that you cut. Okay. You ever get so excited that it's hard to keep neat sections? You just want to like, No, just me. I feel like that sometimes. I'm really excited to do a shape. It takes me, I don't know, it still takes self-discipline to like do your perfect section. I always used to tell people that a cleaned up haircut is never as good as a haircut done right. And that's something that I have to remind myself, you know, like when your next client's there and you're running a little late, the temptation is to like hurry. I'm like that. Some people don't see, I get anxiety. If I start running late, I cannot run late. I can't, I'll freak out. If I'm 12 minutes or under, I'm okay. Once I hit the 15, I'm like, you know, I start getting stressed out.
Yeah, that's when I will cut myself, is when I'm
Well, that's when I have to
stressing.
remind myself, like, you have to stay on your path. If you hurry up and your sections don't get as neat and you start rushing, you're gonna have to like point through it and do all this stuff to fix it up at the end. And it's not gonna be as nice if you just calmly did your sectioning, you know? Yeah, I was just looking at this for a second to check my length. I feel like I want a little bit more in that first section. So I'm just gonna go through here a little bit. So I tilt her head so I can get in there, bring that first little bit back. Over direction is going to give me a little bit of length. Those are all really good questions everybody has. So what did everybody do last night, Kate?
What, who, me?
What did
I went and
everybody
saw
do
Nine
after
Inch
class
Nails.
last night? Kate, what'd you do?
I went and saw Nine Inch Nails.
What?
Nail.
I love that.
The
that
Greek
she
theater.
went and saw Nine Inch
Berkeley.
Nails. I was like, I sat on my couch and looked at Instagram stories with my cat.
It was amazing. I mean,
Was it?
kind of one of those bands that I don't love. Like I don't know. They're like the worst best band.
What's that? What'd you say?
They're like the worst best band. I don't know.
Why are they the worst?
Because I don't really like them, but they're so good.
You're like,
One of those goths.
I love to hate you.
But it's always so inspiring to go to shows and feel energy like that and people watch. That's why I always enjoy going by myself sometimes, because then I can really watch and see everybody's looks.
Yeah, I like
Great
people watching.
inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the crowd like? I bet there was a mix.
Say that again?
What was the crowd like? I bet there was a big like mix.
It was so mixed. There was kids there, older people, young, all different styles, and it was cool.
I stayed in Berkeley last night. The goths were heavy in the streets.
Ah.
I stayed in Berkeley last night, and the goths were out. Heavy.
The goths were out. It was.
Anybody else? Anybody go out? Do anything fun in the area? People don't live here?
Just enjoyed the earthquake in my hotel.
Ah.
Yeah, there was an earthquake last night.
Yeah.
Little 2.9er, yeah.
I don't like earthquakes.
what
I
time?
still don't.
I've always had this fear that there's going to be an earthquake while I'm doing a haircut or something. Like, it's going to be off of someone's head and I don't know. Someone's ear is going to go for it.
Oh my God, Summer. Dang. Yikes.
Tracy McAllister, who was one of the creators and owners of Cowboys and Angels, which is a salon in San Francisco, had been around for 26 years. She would always tell a story about during the '89 earthquake that hit. She was working out Vidal Sassoon at the time and was in the middle of doing a bob, and earthquake hit, and windows shattered, and everyone went running out to the street. But she was like halfway through the cut, and her client's like, "You can't."
She's like, we have 3 more sections.
No, like seriously, her client was like, "I can't leave like this." And Tracy dragged a styling chair out onto the street and finished the haircut on the
Oh
street
my
right after the
gosh.
earthquake hit. Yeah, that's dedication.
That's wild.
Big shout out to Tracy McAllister.
Oh, that was Tracy? That's funny. Of course. Just feeling it, I need to investigate around here, like what is happening. Is there extra length there? Right here. Can you see it? What's that? Looking good.
Do you find that transition area to be like a trickier spot going
Not
from?
as much with a razor.
Okay.
Yikes, there's my hair. Okay, just our last couple sections here. And then we're gonna go into the bangs. I have enough of an outline. I can open my stroke a little bit more.
I'm noticing, like, as far as your body position, do you always do like a wide leg stance for this
I'm trying
type of
not to keep my
cut, or-
head in the camera right there. That's why I was saying, like, I'm like, my legs will be burning by the time I'm done because I'm trying to keep away from the camera.
Yeah.
But sometimes I do because I
Yeah.
feel like sometimes the chairs aren't quite high enough. And I really don't want, I mean, I'm 50, I've cut hair for 25 years. Like this, like, I don't know how many of y'all have like sore backs or whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
And even with the assistants, I'm always like, look at your back. Because they're like doing a line and they're like that, you know, and they don't see it. And I'm like, you don't feel it now, but in 20 years you will, you know what I mean? So if it is, I will stand like that if it's easier to get in.
It seems
Because
smarter than squatting all the time.
yes.
I don't have that type of
I know my one coworker, he always used to stand like our legs were always like that, but it's like, it feels better. Like it's not hard on your muscles to hold yourself like that and your back is straight. Yeah, if the chair doesn't go up high enough, I will stand like that. But mostly I was trying to keep my hair out of the, I should have put my hair in a ponytail or a bun or something. So I'm going to turn her to the front so I can see, kind of use the camera as my mirror, making sure I'm not getting, I always get longer on my second side because I'm so afraid of like cutting the second side shorter. There's like this mental safety that I was like, I feel like it's like that a lot. Does anybody else do that?
Or I feel like my right side is always a little longer as a lefty, maybe because that's, I don't know, the stroke of, yeah.
I feel like my left side is longer.
Really?
Yeah, because since I'm left-handed, it's like the hand I can't get in there because of the shoulder.
Yeah.
So like scissor over comb or graduation sometimes is always longer on my dominant side. On this surface level of the bob, I'm going to go in here and just take, I'm doing them fatter because I almost want these curls to like lump off with each other more instead of being like a sheet. But it's not like I want to take a whole lot of weight out because then I think it's going to get all flippy, and I still want to keep that weight on it, but I almost want to like just put negative space in between them. And then we're going to do the bangs. What kind of bangs should we do?
I've been thinking about that.
Have you? What are we going to do?
Well, I don't know. I just, I feel like they're going to be cute with anything you do just because they already have those really cute little soft tenderly bits.
Anybody on the app have a voice in this? What kind of bangs we should do? I think little shorties.
Like little
Yeah.
shorty round bang, or are we doing?
Yeah, because her face is so sweet. It'd be nice to like, she was a little buried in this hair, right? Now that I part her hair over to the middle, I do have, because I was slightly off center when I cut it, I am going to have this one little section that's longer. Okay, anybody in the app have a vote? I don't know who has
Anybody
the app.
here?
The shorties? Yeah. Are you okay with short bangs? Okay, good. I think that'll look, ooh, look at all this hair on the floor. One thing since COVID is I have lost my tolerance for the shoe game. I am like sponsored by Nike at this point. I can't, man. I have like so many cool sneakers now. I just can't go back. And sneakers are pretty like stylish right now. You can get so many different types. I'm going to use a little tiny triangle section and just so I can layer it a bit as well. And I'm gonna give her some little babies.
What part of the blade will you use? Flat? Or?
I'm still gonna use the edge. Probably go back and forth. So another triangle. Lifting it up for some softness. And then as I get to the end of that section, I can feel that I press my fingers together tighter. You know, it's when you get like a couple of those little hairs. If you feel like you're losing tension, you can just press your fingers together tighter. But it does take, did anybody notice yesterday that like it was different the way they were holding their other hand with the hair? It's tighter, right? We're not quite so used to it. But when you start seeing, when you're cutting, when you start seeing the hair kind of like almost falling out, either just stop and resection, or just know that you have to practice getting some muscle strength in those fingers.
I think that's something I'm
Thank you, Michelle.
still strengthening, is especially if I'm elevating and doing razor layers. That tension, I feel like when you're lifting it has to be even tighter.
Yeah, because you're also fighting gravity of that heavy, wet hair, you know? So I feel like that is definitely harder. So maybe take smaller sections.
Yeah.
But for me, it really hands down comes to combing and keeping that flatness and that ribbon-like look in the hair with your fingers and that tight tension with the fine teeth. It's gonna really help so much.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, is the fine teeth when you're combing up is really going to give it that nice, like, ribbon-like texture, I guess, or consistency.
And sometimes, you know, it'll take me a moment to set up my section before I cut. So
I noticed that
closed
with you, Kate. She really makes sure that she's set up with her combing. Like she might comb it 10 times, but her cutting is so much quicker, but...
Like setting yourself up for success.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, reading the hair and the head shape, so it's really tailored to the person, but it changes everything when you kind of start to have that control in your hand.
Just kind of looking to see like where her bang section stops. So I'm combing it light, and we always say like whatever falls on the face, and like right where it starts to get like either have a little separation or get a little weaker. See if I went in right there and I split it.
Yes.
I have a question about bangs. So what's a good tip if you're cutting like in the recession areas of the bang and it tends to split there? Do you have any little tips or tricks to kind of fill that little section in? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like if you really find the right bang section, it fills itself in. Because if you don't do enough, then that kind of shows, or, you know, because I feel like if I split it right there, that is like that goes right to the corner of that high recession. Do you have anything to add for that, Kate?
Well, I think that on my next model, you might see more of that, but you kind of seeing where it kind of opens up and they have a kind of a strong opening. Yes, we'll be kind of getting to that in the next one. So good question.
Actually, while I'm working on these bangs, I should put the styling product through the rest of the hair. So it can
What
set.
styling product?
What did you pick for me? Aircraft?
Aircraft, we've got some set spray by Colton King, which
We'll put that on the roots. I love Aircraft. Aircraft is a pomade mousse. So is anybody familiar with Aircraft? I think it's great because the wax in the pomade keeps it from getting dry or flaky. And that wax almost kind of like lumps the curls together and keeps it shiny. A lot of people don't like mousse. I think they're coming a little more open to it these days, but they're like, mousse? What?
Mousse has come a long way.
Yeah, it really has. And then we're gonna put a little bit of set spray at the root, right?
Yeah.
Summer, pick my products. Don't fail me now.
I know, pressure's on.
Summer, you ruined my haircut. Do you ever do that? You put something in the hair and you're like, I don't like it. Or sometimes what I'm guilty of is I'll style the hair a little bit too much to check it. And then I feel like it looks too conservative. Like when it was drying off when I was cutting it, it looked really good. And then I'll dry it and then I don't like it as much. And I'm like, But you just have to add a little bit of water. Just add a little bit of water back, and bring out that natural texture. Because some people, it's like, just for the way they wear their hair, it is like smoother. And I want to check the line, like they wear it a little bit straighter. But I feel like it looks almost a little conservative when I'm done. But if you just add a little bit of water, or actually I really like the Curl Revive, you can add a little bit of that in it. That's a very soft curl lotion.
Yeah,
Or-
something I'm learning more, especially I've learned here with Karina and everyone at Pony, is the power of water in the hair. It's obviously weightless, but does a lot to bring back the hair. Or sometimes you don't even need product.
Yeah. Oh, that looks good. You can see you.
Debbie, one of your students is watching from home, Carissa. Watching, loving it.
So I'm pinching because I just want to take a little bit off. That's the
Carissa,
easiest
aka
way.
Darlene.
AKA what?
Darlene.
Oh, I was going to say AKA, I don't know what her Instagram name is this week. Every time I try to find her, I'm like, did you change your name again? She's like, yes. Little bit of movement, but not a whole lot, because I kind of want these to be like chunky, thick. I want them to group off like in a thick little way. Okay, I'm just going to put my razor down for a second, because I just want to kind of just look at her. Especially when you're demoing, it's like I have the camera, but I'm not looking at that too much. So I just want to see, how do I feel? Are these bangs? Like, does anything else want to be a bang? I feel like it's always scary to give too much bang, but I feel like I always lean on not giving enough. Like you really have to see what falls in the bang section. So I feel like that wants to be in there a little bit. I just want to make sure. I always want to tuck the hair, or even sometimes put the hair in a ponytail and see, especially when you're giving bang trims, make sure you put the rest of the hair away, because you don't miss that one little strip that's right before the haircut part. There's always like that little tiny border that's hiding out. What's that? That guy. Because it's like you see them out, and they have a ponytail or something, and there's like a couple of little strings.
And not only that, it also is really good styling. So I'll tuck a lot after I'm done with that section by the ear, because when I take it out, it gives it that rad bend, and clients really love to see that. It's like a good air drying
Oh, nice.
tip. Yeah, it's all
Little boop. I'm lifting this up. I always kind of lift up. Sometimes it's hard to explain something while you're doing something. I'll tell you in 1 sec.
You're kind of taking the top shorter to longer to set it.
I will lift up a little strip on both sides of a bang and elevate. So like this little guy and that little guy on the other side. Because when you just unless the whole bangs are layered, but when you have like a heavier, more blunt bang, if you just layer these 2 little strips on either side, it will blend into the haircut more because you won't have that weight line on the last section of the bang before the haircut. Like it will just seamlessly go into the haircut more.
Unless your name is Betty.
What's that?
Unless your name is Betty Page.
Yeah, Betty should have had her side sections layered a little bit. Just kidding.
It's nice to do that too, right in the center, and it gives you that cute little opening.
Right here, okay. Yeah, because sometimes, like, especially on straighter hair, you'll have like that little corner thing. So if you layer that little strip a little bit, yeah, it just melts in a little bit better. Okay, so I think I'm pretty good. Do we have any last second questions or? And then we're going to bring Kate out, and she has a model for you in 3 minutes. Yeah, so I think this is like wash and wear, right? That little guy, a little bit longer. Let me check you from the front. Yeah, this little guy. Because I cut her a little bit on the side part, but now in the middle, like I said. Ooh, sorry. Just that front little corner from bringing it over. I'm going to take a little rounded section. Actually, when you're cross-checking bobs, scissor bobs, anything, a rounded section is really nice because you can get a view from the back the whole way to the front corner without getting a bunch of weight on top of it. So it is nice. See that little guy? You can see all of it the whole way to the front hairline. Because if you take, if I take a section like this, and do you see how it's like weaker in the very front? Sometimes you can't see until you get the whole way and you get that piece of hair that is the very front corner. But if you go from behind, that's why I like cutting bobs, from the front to the back sometimes. Because you can get that really nice front corner and like really arc that pretty curved line. the best. But to check it, it's kind of nice that I can see this front corner and I can see the whole way to her nape all at once. So, gonna see that little guy right there. I'm gonna pinch it really hard in my fingers because it's just a tiny bit to take off. You could also do it with a scissor. I remember someone saying, it's not a competition that you didn't touch a razor haircut with a scissor. Like, I win, I didn't do anything, you know, but obviously if you're doing a whole lot with your scissor afterwards, then maybe you could have done a little bit more with your razor. And that's how I was at the beginning, and that's okay. You know, I had to go through it all because I was afraid to get crazy on someone's hair. I was afraid to do all that weight removal. Like I said, I did the classic work first, and then like I did a little bit of weight removal, and then I blow dried, and I was like, oh, it's a little too heavy, but that's okay. I'm gonna go through with my scissor and lighten it all up, because I didn't want to damage someone's hair, and I knew that I didn't know how to do that well enough, you know, and then as I got better and better and time went on, then I can do that more, but don't, what's that?
I almost always use my scissors too. You know,
Yeah.
that's just my style, and I like to use the razor quite a bit, but I almost always put a little scissor in there.
Yeah.
But you'll find your style with that too.
Yeah,
That's
so
the best
don't
part.
think if you have to use both that you're not doing something right. All right, so, and one thing though, if you are doing something with a scissor later, make sure you're matching your desired look. Like, don't go in there with the blunt of a scissor on that bang and make a little flat spot, you know what I mean? Make sure you still use your points, yeah? So I think I am done. We're gonna take her back and we're just gonna let her dry naturally, and then we're gonna have a little 2-minute stretch, and then Kate is gonna do her model for you, okay? All right, thanks.